there are at least two ways of being an atheist Christian. There's a boring way and an interesting way. The boring way is to follow the teachings of Jesus as is written down in the Gospels and not believe in God. The interesting way is to not believe in God but have been a born-again Christian. Now let me explain this. According to evangelical Christianity, when you commit yourself to Christ, you become permanently saved. This is a process known as perseverance of the saints. You can't lose your salvation once you've gained it. This is mentioned in the Gospel of John chapter 3, which you can look up and I will quote below, and also in 2 Corinthians 5:17, which you can look up and I will quote below, both in the King James Version because of the copyright issue. Okay, now, the trouble is that many Christians claim that you can't have been genuine if you've lost your faith. This is not the case. As anyone who has lost their faith will know, they genuinely believed for a long time and then they lost their faith. They stopped believing. So they committed themselves to Christ and they stopped believing. They then came to the conclusion that there was no God. But they were as sincere and genuine as anyone else is. Now, it's not going to work very well if you're attempting to communicate with an atheist or whatever, if you're just going to assert baldly that something that they know is not the case. It's not just a case of talking about creationism or something like that, or talking about the resurrection and something being merely implausible or very hard to believe for them. You're actually talking about something that they know for a fact is not true, because they went through that experience and they stopped believing. Now, let me talk about my experience, because we know that it wasn't genuine, that it was genuine. Now, I was an atheist as a child. I believed that there was no God. Not I didn't believe that there was a God. On the 23rd of October 1985, after I had started believing in a God that was good, I committed myself to Christ in the usual way and in the standard way that evangelical Christians would normally say. So I'm talking about substitutionary atonement, resurrection, Jesus Christ being divine and human, a miraculous resurrection from the grave, and him dying on the cross for my sins, and all of that. I believed in all of that. Okay, entirely accepted. I then almost immediately came out against a problem. One was that the Christians around me were bigoted. They said it would be fine for me to carry on asking questions after I become a Christian. In fact, I should, because that would strengthen my faith. And then all of a sudden it wasn't okay for me to ask these questions, like, for example, why are you homophobic? Why are you bigoted against Christianity? Why are you bigoted against homosexuals when they're expressing their love sexually, as God says you should, because you should love each other as Christ loved us? And why are you saying it's not okay to be vegetarian when food is being fed to animals instead of human beings, and thereby promoting famine in the third world? Why are you denying that any other faith has a valid path to enlightenment? Why are you saying that women have gender roles that are fixed and different from male gender roles, and so forth? None of those questions were answered. People refused to address those questions. They just continued to say this is what is the case. And as a result, I stopped believing and I became an atheist for a longer period of time. I have now changed that, but this is not what this video is about. What this video is about is the fact that you can be an atheist Christian in this way, because if you believe in the perseverance of the saints, as far as you're concerned as a Christian, all these people are still Christians. You have to accept that. And so the question is, why would you want to continue to define yourself as a Christian when you're an atheist, when you believe that Christianity is one of the worst possible things that's ever happened in the history of the world? Well, the answer to that is that you can be a thorn in their side. You can define yourself as what you want, but what I'm saying is it may be politic to define yourself as a Christian who is an atheist, because if you do that, you can then say, well, your theology is demonstrably incorrect, because I know that I believed, I was committed to Christ, and I stopped believing, and I came to believe that there was no God. And that is why it's maybe important and significant to call yourself a Christian even if you are an atheist.